Hello everyone, welcome back to another Tech Bite from Nitish Sharma Global Tech. I'm Kuldeep, your trainer. Let's see what we are going to cover today is about the new buzz in the Cisco certification track. What is that? This is our CCIE Wireless, right? So earlier it used to be CCI Enterprise Wireless. Before, I should say, or till March it is there if you are attempting for the wireless certification or something. But as per Cisco guideline from last some months, they are saying after March 19th or 20th that it will be changed. The track will be changed, the certification path, like the content and how it is approached, and your lab exam, everything is going to change after March 2026, right? Or during the March itself. How we can help you preparing, if I talk about the technology aspect of it, production environment aspect of it, and like actual deployment and implementation, and also from the lab perspective, going for your CCI wireless exam, right? So to get into all of that, let's see what actually is there, what covers or what makes the entire blueprint of our CCI wireless lab and the technology, right? So if we focus primarily, if I'll say CCIE wireless, then there are 6 or 5, I believe, main pillars to that, okay? If I kind of draw them properly. So one is going to be that's where we are going to start. RF, here we'll talk about the theory aspect, all right? We'll talk about, let's say, the IEEE standards 802.11, B, A, G, and AC, AX. We'll talk about different Wi-Fi terminology, terms, and the generations. We'll start with that part. We'll come from Wi-Fi 1, 2 up to Wi-Fi 6 and 7, right? We'll see what they are adding right now, what bands, channels, right? The radio specifications, power management, and whatsoever. So being one of the student of MTech recently, let's say I did my MTech in 2024, so I kind of have a firm grasp on what was there earlier, let's say when the IEEE started experimenting with wireless things, started with all that ISM bands and unrestricted, then they came to the restricted 5 gigahertz. So having a kind of research level information on that, so I'm pretty sure and I'm pretty confident, okay, we can touch like what used to be there, what is there, and what is going to be there. So from the perspective, if I talk about, let's say, Wi-Fi 7 and 6, right? We'll go there up to the 6 gigahertz band. And why we are like saying this? Because what my belief is, I have been there and I can see you guys there as well, even if you are in production. And I have been talking to many people, many professionals. They are good in configuring things, but sometimes when it comes to the advanced troubleshooting, they are stuck in understanding the theory, the math behind the wireless. So that's where I'm going to help you, being a gold medalist in my own thesis and everything. So yes, I believe we can match each other's expertise and we can get to the desired destination. So either it can be to be a better engineer from your production perspective, or it can be like getting your CCI wireless number. So this is where we are going to start. So yes, we'll build the foundation first, and that brings me to the second part. What is that? Like to build the wireless solution. Remember, if I say, for example, let me make it more colorful for better understanding. If this is my existing infra, all right, it may be a traditional one, or we'll talk about later on in one of the pillars that it will be the SDN based as well. So if this is the wired only, and we want to make it wireless, so I'll be having what? My existing 3-tier architecture, remember? So it is going to be a core layer here. There are going to be my distribution layer devices, and there are going to be my access layer devices. Somewhere down the road on this layer will be having our APs connected, okay? The access point, the devices which will be acting as a bridge. Let's say if this is my smartphone, if this is my laptop, that you all know, they are connecting to these access points to get connected to, for example, to other devices. Let's say there are some other servers which you want to access wirelessly. Let's say you are going to access the internet services, and somewhere it can be a firewall. So your infra can be as complex as it gets. But the point being, these AP are going to be the bridging point from your wireless endpoints, that we call them stations from the wireless perspective. This connection here, if I talk about the wired perspective, it is a link, but here we call it a association. So via AP, we are going to go there. And now this is my wired infra. So where to put this wireless, right? So to understand like AP, so later on we'll be adding a device here as well called WLC. To understand them better, it's better I understand my existing wired infra, and I can understand people who are in the wired industry and enterprise industry. So to them, it will be like a great point there. They will be making more sense of it, and it will be more interesting for them, right? So the next point for them, so if I write it here, the wired enterprise wired infra, right? But there are many people that I talk to, that I teach, and they say, okay, we are in the deployment of wireless solutions, but we don't have much idea about the wired. So that's where we'll start talking about things like VLANs, we'll talk about VTP, we'll talk about like trunking, access, links and all that. We'll talk about STP, RSTP, MSTP. So this will give you a firm understanding what goes on here. So that's our point. That's what Cisco even want. Okay. Before coming to the next part. So what is the next one actually? That is your CCIE. Okay, I think I used the same one, but let's change it. And if I say not CCI, this is your enterprise wireless. So this is actually where the wireless begins, which comes, let's say, to your having more percentage in your exam, having more weightage from your production point of view as well, right? So this is where we'll talk about these things. The devices which wireless adds, like not your entire wireless infra is going to be wireless. Your routers are going to be there, switches are going to be there, firewall is going to be there, right? So it is going to add these primarily two devices to provide two primary things. What is that? Mobility and convenience. So we'll see that, right? So as it is a coreless, cableless architecture, adding and removing the devices, it is scalable, efficient, and all those things we'll talk about in this section itself. Pros and cons, and what we need to take care of, and all those things when we are implementing the wireless network. Okay, so this is where this enterprise wireless section, and there will be a lot more here. We'll talk about things like, let's say WLC deployment models. We'll have 3-4 different type of models. Cloud-based, it can be centralized, it can be, let's say, embedded, or it can be what Flex Connect, or all those things, right? Mobility Express and all. This is, am I missing something here? I believe let's pause here for now. We can come back to if I need to, let's say, add or talk about anything. But yes, primarily if you can see these two devices. And okay, I can add one more thing. We can talk about AP modes here, we'll see, and we'll see like things like autonomous APs, lightweight access points, and we'll talk about the Meraki devices as well. We'll talk about the Meraki cloud managed WLCs and all that. We'll see what it brings, what problem it does solve, where in this existing, let's say, environment of wireless does it help and does it comes into picture, right? Well, this has been added recently, as we discussed earlier in the last version of wireless, it was not there. Okay, so this is recently added. All right, we have basics of RF, we have wired and wireless. Then comes your, what should I say, the security part. All right, security part. And here one of the component which is of prime importance from not just the wired and the security thing. So when security comes into picture, one device that we cannot forget, right? ICE. My AAA server, my policy server, and my centralized, let's say, deployment for all the requirements that I want for my wired and wireless devices, especially when we are talking about the wireless here. So I'll say that if I need to deploy, for example, when I was saying Meraki, so here the Meraki cloud dashboard will be used as a controller for the centralized management. But let's say I'm not using the Meraki AP, Meraki wireless solution, but my in-house solution, right? Cisco APs, Cisco WLC. So how, let's say you have thousands of APs, how to manage them by the WLCs. You have multiple WLCs, how to manage them. We'll come to the next part for that basically. That is going to be, just to complete a point, we'll be coming to the automation, right? So better management of many hundred and thousands of your APs, like we have WLC. So the better managed or management, centralized management actually of multiple WLCs, the centralized configuration of WLAN, the power setting, the radio setting and all that, we have the controller. And the solution is SDA basically, the controller is Cisco Catalyst Center. Why I'm bringing this into picture? Because these two products, right, this ICE and SDA, they kind of integrate with each other in such a way that this creates the holistic, secure, centralized, enterprise level wireless network. So yeah, that's it, I believe, which is there. And then we also have some services as well. If you talk about that, on top of my existing, let's say if you talk about the wired services, wired network services, we had some IP services, right? Talking about HSRP, we can talk about NAT, we can talk about quality of service, multicast, all those things we can, add on top of my existing wireless network as well. We'll talk about multicasting, we'll talk about quality of service, MDNS, etc., etc. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, these are the 6 pillars which are right now there, and which kind of constitutes this entire CCIE wireless exam and the technology part. So I believe this part has been useful to you. You can let me know in the comments. If you have found this interesting and you want to get updates about more such videos, you can like, subscribe to the channel, you can press the bell icon so that you don't miss a video that we put about all the related security, data center, service provider, wireless, enterprise and all those CCIE related topics. And yes, if you want to know more about the solution, if you want to actually get the hands-on on these technologies, on these devices, on these labs, you can join me for my free demo sessions in one of my upcoming batches. The link for that you can find in the description. So thank you so much for being with me. Have a nice day. I'll see you in some other one. Bye-bye.